Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Satya from JavaBeam, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate about the new enhancements to interfaces in Java 8. Those are enhancements are like a static methods, and the default methods have been introduced. We will see what is the static method and default method, how we write those methods, and what are the conditions around those. We'll see. And first, why Java is introduced static methods and default methods into an interface. As of now, we know up to until Java 7, we know interface is nothing but a 100% abstract. There are no implementations or there is no concrete methods provided inside a interface. But from Java 8, the perspective has been changed and Java is introduced static and default methods inside a interface. That is a behavioral change. Why Java has taken this step to introduce this? Because let's assume there are one interface, and from that one interface there are hundreds of implemented classes has been done in a project, and now we want to incorporate a new feature or new functionality from the top level to all the classes. So if I introduce a new function, new method inside a interface, then I have to change all the 100 classes implemented to that interface. That is a very tedious work, and that is very impossible to do, because if you have exposed that API to some third party, that is they are also going to be impacted. So we cannot do that one. So instead, Java is incorporating these methods so that those methods already get implemented in interface, and there can be used directly in implemented classes without impacting the existing behavior, and we no need to write any additional override methods. Yeah, let me write a simple code. This is my interface, and how can we write a static method or a default method? We'll see. In normal method, how we write in class, like void. Let's say return type is void, and my method name is print. So this is how we write method, and this is a method body. Print method inside interface. Yeah, this is the implementation. So coming to the static method, we have to use a static keyword to implement a static method inside a interface. That's it. And by default, this is a public method. So you can keep the public, or if you won't keep, by default it is a public. Yeah. And how you write a default method? To write a default method, we need to use a keyword default, and remaining is same like how you write a static method or any other methods. We can write the same, right? Uh, disk something, that is the method name, and in my method body I'm writing disk method inside interface. Yeah, this is a method implementation. So here you can see this is a new keyword has been introduced in Java 7 to implement or incorporate the default methods in a interface. This is not a scope. The scope is still a public. This is a public method. So the scope is public, and this is a type of like a static method. There is one more type. It's a default method which is only available in interface. This is a method signatures and how we write these interface. You can write multiple default methods or multiple static methods. There is no restriction. So let me change this to disk 2. So something like this we can write, and now we will see what are the conditions around to implement inside implemented classes. Let's say I have demo impl which is implementing demo interface, And in Java 7 I have introduced one static method and one more default method, and I have to incorporate in my class. So while doing this, can I override those methods? We'll see what are the conditions. Coming to the static method cannot be overridden inside a implemented class, because like it's not applicable for inheritance. Even though if you provide a same method inside a implemented class, something like this inside the implemented class, this is not applicable for overriding, because static is not applicable at override. See, we are getting error. And one more thing, let's say I have created the object for my implemented class demo impl and obj it is, and new demo impl. I am creating instance. Now here, can I use the inheritance? As like we know, interface can refer to implemented classes. This line is perfect, but from using this object I cannot invoke the static method. Static method is print method, right? This is a print name. Okay, so I cannot use print and I cannot invoke in the inheritance way. Only way I can use this print method in implemented classes is using the class name demo.print. This is the way only we can use. We cannot use using the inheritance way, like creating the instance for the subclass, and I cannot use that print method. This is a compilation error. You can see here, static method of interface demo can only be accessed in demo.print. So this is the only way we have to use interface dot the static method name. We cannot use, this is a invalid one. This is the rule for static method providing in implemented classes and calling the in implemented classes. Coming to default method, default methods. Yeah, coming to the default methods, we can override these default methods inside the implemented class. Let's see how we can implement. Yeah, here I can. So if you see, I'm trying to override here, and here it is saying default methods are allowed only in interface. Yeah, because default keyword we cannot use inside the classes. Only in interface we can use the default keyword. That is the first condition. So we cannot use default condition here in overriding. And this is a overriding method. Now we can do this one. And one more thing, we cannot change the scope of this default method, because default method scope is by default public. Even though if you provide public or not, by default it is a public scope. So still you have to provide a public, because we cannot reduce the scope in implemented classes. It is the other criteria. Now this is perfect. Now inside IMPL class. Okay, so this is good. Now how can I call this method? Even though if you override or not, we can use inheritance to call the default methods from the interface. So this is how we can call the default method. So let's say if I didn't override this one, then it will be called from the interface. See, this default method, this method inside interface, which is available as a default in interface. This is how we override inside the interfaces. Sorry, how we override inside the implemented classes. And one more condition, like static methods are default methods. So we cannot override from the object class methods. Object class is superclass to all classes available in Java. So those will be inherited by default, but we cannot override those object class methods using the default behavior. That is the other condition. We cannot change those implementations in an interface. Yeah, there is one more functionality, that is functional interfaces. What are functional interfaces? Yeah, Java introduced a new term called functional interface. If a interface has only one abstract method, only one abstract method or two or three, that is not new concept to interfaces, but functional interface concept is new to Java, that is introduced in Java 8. If the interface has only one abstract method, means unimplemented method, let's say void test x, this, let's say this is the abstract method or unimplemented method, then this interface is called functional interface. And if you want, you can make as functional interface with annotation. Even though we have static method or default method, that is not going to change the behavior. This is like if you have only one abstract method, let's say I have two abstract methods, then this is not a functional interface. This is not eligible for functional interface. See, now you are getting the error. Functional interface annotation demo is not a functional interface. Invalid. It's saying it's a invalid annotation because demo is not a functional interface, because we have multiple abstract methods. And yeah, we have seen how we can invoke in the implemented classes and the overriding conditions, and even for the default we have seen default is directly inherited and we can use inside the inheritance functionality. And if you want, you can override this default method, but without using the default keyword. Default keyword is only available inside the interface, and default is not a scope, that is a type of the class, and still the default method scope is public by default, even though if you provide or not, that is a public method. And while overriding, we should give the method scope is public. We cannot reduce the scope of the default method. These are the conditions, and hope you understood about the interface new features incorporated in Java 8. Those are static and default methods, and we also seen functional interfaces definition. These functional interfaces are used for the lambda expressions that has been introduced in Java 8 as well. Those will be used mainly in collections. Yeah, that we can discuss separately. That's all for this video, and thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel for latest updates. And if you want to know anything about any other functionalities in Java or Python, please provide your comments in below section so that we can revert you on that.